Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second host call of the weekend. We are about to get started with your questions. All these questions have come in from the past couple of weeks. We're typically anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks behind on getting to your questions, but they are always answered in the order they come in. So thank you so much for all of you for tuning in. I do appreciate each and every listen. I truly do. And I love to see that a lot of people are also asking questions, not just for themselves, but also how can I help a family member? How can I help a friend? And it's really beginning to spread this message of hope through healing. And that is because there is always an answer. Now, we don't always want to hear the specific answer, but there's always an answer. If you are dealing with the worst of the worst immune-based issues, there is an underlying root cause. If you're dealing with some type of inflammatory issue, there is an underlying root cause for that inflammation. Brain fog, fatigue, lack of libido, lack of vitality, all of these things stem from deficiencies and toxicities. As we begin to explore what your particular deficiencies are or what your particular toxins are, we can figure out what we need to remove and what we need to replace. When we do that, we then put the body in position to heal, which is really what it's all about. A natural health practitioner never heals your body. They put your body in position to heal itself. That's what it's all about. So hopefully I'll be able to share some knowledge with you here today from my past 20 years in private practice, over 250,000 people that we've had the pleasure of working with. And of course, I'm sure that we've come across whatever your issue is as well. If not, we'll always give you at least another place to look. All right, so let's dive right into it. I'm opening up my Pages document. That's not it. That's my calendar. All right, and here we go. Today is episode 1689. If you want to follow along with all of the questions, read right along, especially if there's some medical terms in there, you can kind of see what it looks like. You can head over to stephencabral.com/1689. All right, first question is from IS. I think that's how you may pronounce it. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a daily listener of your podcast and often search some information for any health topic. I tried to find an episode about Lichen Planus skin disease, but didn't find anything. My grandmother has this autoimmune disease and would love to know more about the reasons and mechanisms of the disease. Where should I start when thinking any advices for my grandma? She has suffered from skin and gut issues her whole life, and she's now 88. Thank you in advance. All right, well, you already gave away the answer. So she has suffered from skin and gut issues her whole life. Well, the Lichen Planus, or pronounced correctly, Lichen Planus, actually typically stems from gut-based issues. Intestinal permeability can be part of it, which is why most autoimmune issues stem from leaky gut or intestinal permeability. But again, well, how did you get leaky gut? I've done many shows on leaky gut. I would love you to tune back on those. Let me just give you one show specifically since I just did it. And it was, let's see if I can find it. If I can't, I apologize. But I know that I just did this within the last 30 podcasts. They go quick. That's the thing. Leaky gut, I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. And I did not find it, unfortunately. All right. So you can simply go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and type in leaky gut, and you'll absolutely be able to find it. Plus, I have a whole category at the top of that image. You can just kind of scroll through the graphics to the top, click on the digestive one, and you can find it out. For people that don't know what Lichen Planus is, it is a skin condition. Basically, it's an immune reaction where the mucous membranes, it can be around hair follicles, etc., that start to get these flat purple marks. Sometimes they can be brown marks. Sometimes they can be white marks. Oftentimes purplish reddish in color. And it's kind of unknown as to why a person may get them. Well, it's not necessarily unknown, but essentially it is an immune reaction against the skin cells themselves. Now, so if we look at this being autoimmune, self against self, immune system against self, we have to understand that there's always a reason for that as well. So we need to ask ourselves, what could be the reason for that? Well, we know that viruses could be one. We know that food sensitivities could be one. We know that intestinal permeability could be another. Root cause of intestinal permeability: Candida overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, H. pylori, parasites, biofilms. All of that can lead to intestinal permeability, along with the overuse of antibiotics, the alcohol, the stress, etc. Right? I've talked about that. I would love you to tune into that show. Okay, so we have that. We have the heavy metals. We have the toxicity. All of those things can lead to intestinal permeability. So again, I can't provide you with a disease diagnosis, a treatment, or a cure. Only a licensed medical doctor can do that. And as we know, they specialize in conventional medicine. And hopefully by now we realize conventional medicine is the absolute best for acute-based health. What does that mean? Well, it means that you broke your arm. Okay, you go to the emergency room. You're having a heart attack. You go to the emergency room. Acute-based care. But if you're trying to help someone with a chronic-based condition and you're treating it with pharmaceutical drugs, it's questionable. It really is. In the short term, okay, high blood pressure of 220 over 160, I get it. You're going to go on blood pressure meds, diuretics, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, whatever you need. But hopefully, you're only doing that while you then work on the root causes to why you got that in the first place. No different with this Lichen Planus as well. Here's what I want you to do. In an ideal world, you will run at least the gut testing with your grandmother. You'll run the stool test, you'll run the urine test, and you will run the finger prick food sensitivity test, also known as the stool test, the bacteria and parasite test, and then the urine is the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, and then of course is the food sensitivity. I would do those. If you can only do one, well, then I'd run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, and I would run the hair tissue mineral analysis with it, which is called the starter kit, those two combined, and you can save money by running those. That's absolutely what I would do. Now, you can do things in the skin. What seems to work is things like the same things that would help with yeast overgrowth in the skin, to be honest with you: colloidal silver, apple cider vinegar, borax, baking soda, coconut oil, tea tree oil. All of these things can work, but remember, you're working from the outside in, and that's not going to solve the issue. You need to work from the inside out. All right, Tracy is up next. Hello, thank you for all you do to help others on a daily basis. I've gained so much knowledge through you. You give so much hope to me on my health journey. Could you please tell me what I can do to improve low immunoglobulin A? My level is 40 and E less than 2. Also, I have antiparietal cell antibodies, struggle with a ton of nutritional deficiencies in spite of eating very well. Complement C4 is very high at 1839, had Lyme disease 2 years ago, 3 rounds of antibiotics. I still was not symptom-free and have been struggling intermittently since. I am trying to piece together the puzzle, frustrated because I feel like with my very healthy lifestyle, I should be feeling so much better than I do. Thank you so much. All right, Tracy, I totally understand where you're coming from. I hear this all the time. So let's take this piece by piece because we can help with this. Okay, first thing first, immunoglobulin A is very low. All right. Yours was less than a 40, or yours is a 40. Mine was a 0. A lot of people don't necessarily believe that when they hear that. My secretory IgA, which is secretory immunoglobulin A, which is one part of your immune system that's basically in all the mucous membranes of your body, ears, nose, and throat, was a 0. That means when something came in, it basically got a free ride into my body. No wonder why I was sick all the time. But I was also sick all the time because I had previously been sick all the time, right? So it kind of was just, my body was completely worn out. Now I did have Addison's disease, so that was that. But here's the thing. I've recovered. My secretory IgA is no longer 0. It's actually much better. So what can I say about this? Well, when the body gets stressed, it gets run down. You've taken antibiotics like a doxycycline or something like that for Lyme. It sometimes takes a little bit to repair. Now, that was 2 years ago, though. What we want to do is we want to begin this healing process. You've got gut issues. The antiparietal cell bodies, basically, is an issue with another autoimmune issue with the gastric cells. And that's probably why you have nutritional deficiencies as well. I don't know if you're on an acid blocker. Here's what we want to do. We want to run the same test that I had our friend IS run for her grandmother. We want to know, especially we want to do the bacteria and parasite test because it comes with an H. pylori test. You want to figure out if you have H. pylori. Really, really important to look at that, okay? Then you want to look at bacterial overgrowth. You want to look at Candida overgrowth or yeast fungal overgrowth is what it tests for. Food sensitivities are important, but if you have to save on one lab, maybe hold off on that because we, of course, could provide you with a kind of food elimination plan. That is absolutely where I would start. 100%, that's where I would start. So sure, you could run the big five. The big five labs would be great, but those are my first recommendations for sure. So thank you, Tracy, for writing in. Paula's up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. How can someone do the CBO protocol, the CBO finisher, and still be sensitive to numerous herbs? I thought this was going to be resolved once I rebalanced my microbiome, but I continue to react to things like saffron, licorice, cumin, and a bunch of other teas and spices. Do you think it takes more than 6 months to fully heal the gut and have a healthy microbiome? Maybe if I continue taking the daily probiotic for a few more months, it will improve. What are your thoughts? Well, it's a really good question. So here's the thing. You can absolutely heal your microbiome in 6 months. No doubt about that. Now, it continues to heal. There's no doubt about that. But you can absolutely heal in 6 months. So now, why would our friend Paula still be sensitive to things like saffron, licorice root, cumin, and other teas and spices? Well, let's think about all of those things because we always want to think about what is the relationship through random things like saffron and cumin and tea. Why would those be related? Well, we can tell one thing, that Paula may have not a gut-based issue right now, but now the remnants of an imbalanced immune system, one that is probably a little bit more Th2 dominant. Again, not providing any diagnosis here, but if you realize that Th2 dominance leads to more of these food sensitivities, namely more of a mast cell production, namely more of a histamine sensitivity, then you'll begin to realize that Paula may do tremendously better by following a lower histamine diet. And again, when you look at histamines, it's all about that rain barrel. The more that you have in one day, the higher that rain barrel begins to overflow. The less that you have, well, the more leeway that you have with a particular meal. Let's say you have a dried rub spice on a chicken or a steak, and then you also have a glass of red wine. Well, that's going to send your histamines through the roof. Or let's say, I think that for healing my gut, I'm supposed to do some kefir or some fermented veggies, some sauerkraut, or some kombucha. Well, super high in histamines. So now what happens is we have all of the symptoms of brain fog or itchiness or fatigue or any of those things that come with the sensitivity to histamines. So what I would say is you can absolutely resolve your gut issues in 6 months, but sometimes, again, you're a healthy human being, but sometimes these sensitivities to foods or the Th2 dominance does take a bit more time. So Paula, hopefully that gave you a start. Follow if you can, or if you choose to. I'm not giving you a treatment protocol, but I would follow a lower histamine diet, less teas, less spices for right now, and just see how you do. And that could kind of be your litmus test for if this is particularly the issue. Remember, histamine foods, go back, listen to my previous podcasts, smoked foods, aged foods, fermented foods, and that's what we talked about, right? Dried means aged. So these dried spices are aged. Fresh, not as many histamines, right? A fresh cilantro, a fresh oregano, a fresh whatever is very different than a dried spice as well. Okay, great question, Paula. Sarah's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a big fan. Thank you for what you do. I'm looking for some advice for my husband. He suffers with issues down the right side of his body. He has tendonitis in his right leg. He has a blind spot behind his right eye, a hernia in his lower abdomen, and a lump on the side of his lower back. Is this a liver issue? Would cutting out inflammatory foods such as gluten, dairy, sugar, soy, eggs help? He also gets heart cramping from time to time. He has seen numerous doctors and is always told to go back if things get worse, as he is managing, but he is in pain every day and is quite miserable. Do you have any suggestions? Many thanks. Okay, so first question. Would he be healthier if he cut out inflammatory foods? Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely yes. Would he be healthier if he cut out gluten, dairy, sugar, soy, eggs? Yes. The answer is yes as well. So we can absolutely do that. Again, I can't provide a treatment protocol. You know that that's not allowed by the FDA. So here's what we can do. If I was in a position such as your husband's, what I would personally do is a 21-day detox. That's what I would personally do. And before I did that 21-day detox, I would run the Big Five. Because the Big Five gives you the most in-depth look you can inside of your body. Gut health, vitamins, minerals, omegas, food sensitivities, you name it, right? That's what we do. And it comes with then his own plan. And it comes with a 90-minute call with my health coaching team. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. So I would run the Big Five. Then for me, this is me giving advice to myself. Then I would do a 21-day detox, again, as long as there's no contraindications medically. And then after that 21-day detox, I would continue with daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3, and then I would wait for my plan from the practitioners to share specific things to do. That's exactly what I would do. All right, and I know that there's help. I know that there is. Okay, good. We have time for more questions. Julia's up next. I've suffered from IBS, mainly IBS-C, for over 10 years. I have been through a number of diets, gluten-free, dairy-free, FODMAP, etc., but will admit it's been difficult to stick with. And also, then everything I ate just ended up not making me feel good, even healthy foods. I've done the 7-day Cabral detox and felt amazing afterward, so would like to continue and learn more. Also think hormonal testing I would greatly benefit from. Okay, Julia, I'm happy to hear, first of all, I'm happy to hear that you listened to the show. That's first and foremost. The second is I'm happy to hear that you got great results in the detox, because it begins to tell me that there's definitely a digestion food sensitivity issue, and that's why the functional medicine detox helped clear a lot of that up. But you talked about the hormonal testing. Really, really the most important testing for you are the 3 digestive labs. Organic acids test, which is what we call the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. That's number 1 for you. Number 2 for you is the bacteria and parasite stool testing. And number 3 for you is the food sensitivity testing. Could you benefit greatly from the stress hormone mood and metabolism test? 100%. 100%. That's why I would love for you to run the Big 5 plus the stool test. That would be 6. But honestly, and the only reason you wouldn't is simply because of finances. I mean, it's just a cost because it's not covered by health insurance. But that's what I would do. I mean, if there's a digestive issue, let's look at the gut first. Without a doubt, of course, hormones and stress plays an issue with digestion. But I know that you've done a lot of diets, but it doesn't sound like you've done a lot of protocols. A protocol is very different than a diet. When you look at our CBO protocol, it gets towards the root cause. When you do a diet, well, it's just a diet. And then it comes back once you go back to however the eating was. So our CBO protocol is an actual system and protocol. And yes, it includes a diet, but diet is only part of the equation. So Julia, that's what I would do specifically. All right. Andrea's up. After doing the Big 5, I had some minor yeast overgrowth, mineral imbalances, very little mercury, and some hormone issues. Nothing too out of whack. I would say apart from hormones, I'm 23, currently a level 1 IHP student, thus follow all of your nutrition, supplement, and exercise recommendations. I haven't ovulated for almost a year now. No sign of my period after stopping the pill. My estrogen was extremely low, and so was progesterone. The rest is in control, including cortisol, DHEA, testosterone, etc. I couldn't test during a specific day of my cycle because I didn't get my periods, so that was a bit annoying, of course. Given that I followed all of your health protocols and recommendations, such as CBO finisher, adrenal soothe at night, DNS, would you think that at this point, it looks like I have to go the conventional path? I know that you don't give medical advice, but I'd love to know your point of view. Do you think I should try hormonal therapy temporarily to force my period? Or should I wait a few more months, even though I'm still far away of becoming a mother? I do worry about fertility. Not only that, but I also get very worried as I know that the period is a sign of health. Thank you so much in advance. Okay, Andrea, honestly, this is where you do have to really go with the guidance of your health coach and practitioner. And the reason is this. I don't know what your hair tissue mineral analysis looked like. I don't know if you have a high calcium magnesium showing there is stress, potentially through still the HPA axis dysregulation of norepinephrine, not necessarily just cortisol. Remember, there's more ways to be stressed than just cortisol, right? A giveaway of low estrogen, low progesterone certainly shows a sign then of potentially previous stress, of being on birth control in the past and dysregulating hormones, of what I would say too is under-eating or over-exercising. So these are all things that I don't know about you, but your health coach does. Now, what I would say is, okay, if everything else really is good, then great. Here's what I would do. I would do the ultimate deep sleep protocol at night, which is the adrenal soothe, the full spectrum magnesium, and the sleep products, right? Because we really want to reset the circadian rhythm, get you into a deeper, more rejuvenative sleep. Because maybe you're asleep at night, but you're not getting an hour and a half plus of deep sleep or 2 hours plus of REM sleep. Maybe you're not using a tracker like something like this, right? So we need to make sure that you're getting good quality sleep, that you're following the whole de-stress protocol: diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance. What if you're dealing with a lot of stress in your life right now, a lot of trauma previously that's unresolved? and then that success mindset that you can get well, that you will get well. So there's so much to look at, and that's why working with, again, I know that you're an IHP, you're studying right now, and that's great, but oftentimes we're the worst with ourselves. So we need to work with another coach, another practitioner. And you can still do seed cycling. You can still do a product to boost estrogen levels naturally with herbs. You can still use a product to boost progesterone levels naturally with herbs. So again, those things are out there. They really are. And I would highly recommend that. Now, it's your choice to go the conventional medicine path. And I'm not saying not to do that, but I say that may have what got you into this place in the first place. I don't know. Like, again, I don't know if it was antibiotic use. I don't know if it was losing too much weight. I don't know if it was on being previously on birth control. So I don't know. I don't know how you got here. But what I can say is, if we can exhaust all of our natural resources first, that's always my ideal. It doesn't have to be yours, but it's my ideal. And I do believe that in most circumstances, we are absolutely successful with that. It just doesn't always happen within 4 months or even 6 months. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But some of our best success stories are when women are really working to get pregnant. They're working on their health. And I can think of 3 people right now just over the last 2 months that popped my mind, that they were working on it, they were trying. And it took some 6 months. It took others 8 months. It took one 13 months. And they made it happen. And now their body is so healthy for being able to have that new healthy child as well, because they did the detoxes, they did the heavy metals, they did the gut just like you did, and they continued to work on the stress that was maybe holding them back as well. So, Andrea, hopefully this is helpful. I wish you nothing but the best. Hopefully that was at least a place to get started. I appreciate everyone for tuning into today's show. And as always, if today's show was helpful, please do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our latest Mindset and Motivation Monday. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.